Part 53. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jung Word. Chapter 521. Chapter 521 Toolman. Night. In the hotel. All the guests were well dressed and changing glasses. After all, the Lee family has not held such a banquet for a long time, and no one in the city would give it face. Coupled with the attitude of the Lee family today, who doesn't know that Lee Bicon's attitude of smiling for Pomeranian, if it does not give Lee Bicon face and spoils Lee Bicon's happiness, then he may not have a good life. However, people can't help but talk about it. Sunian is really capable. I didn't expect that she would actually secure her position as the mistress of the Lee family. Hey, after all, Sunian has the support of the old man of the Lee family, so it's normal for her to sit firmly in her position. But she can win back Lee Bicon's heart from that Lan Min. After all, who doesn't know how women outside can seduce men? I don't know how many. Women have a lot of desire to gossip. Even these wealthy ladies cannot control their desire to gossip. At this time, a noble lady couldn't help but said, "Do you think we should find some time to go to Sunian to get Buddhist scriptures and learn how to deal with these women outside who can't get to the sweet water?" Go, do you have a chance to talk to Sunian? After all, where is his identity? You say this as if he is ignoring you. These words successfully aroused laughter from the people around him. But at this moment, the door to the banquet hall opened. Everyone stopped talking and looked at the door subconsciously. Unexpectedly, they saw one Sunian coming in holding Li Jianhong's hand, and Li Bicon following behind, more like a foil. This way everyone knows about Sunian's status. On an occasion like today, Li Bicon originally wanted to hold Sunian's hand and make a grand appearance. But unexpectedly, the old man appeared just before he came out and pushed him away very forcefully. Not only that, but he also said very plausibly, "In the past years, I always accompanied Nian on her birthday. Isn't it a bit too much for you to take my place this year? Moreover, you have formed a habit in previous years. If it changes this year, then it will definitely the guests will not be used to it." When Li Bicon heard this, he couldn't help but said, "Dad, do you hope that our relationship will be good, or do you hope that our relationship will be bad?" "What do you mean?" "I treat Nian well because I value Nian. You say this as if I value you. And now you know you are anxious. What did you do in those years? Who did you do? You were blind all those years ago, who can you blame for this?" Then, Li Bicon lost the qualification to lead Sunian into the venue. Li Bicon has no choice but to be reduced to a tool to hold up his wife's skirt. Sunian didn't say anything when he saw the father and son like this. He just tried his best to keep smiling. When he walked in holding the old man's arm, the old man spoke to Sunian in a voice that only the two of them could hear. Nian, I know that your feelings are strong now, but this man is still too much for them, it needs to be a little threatening." Of course the old man did this, and he also had a very simple idea. "Very simply, I don't want to make things easier for my son, Li Bicon." At this time, what else could Sunian do, other than to smile obediently? However, she still secretly looked at Li Bicon when the old man wasn't paying attention. The eyes of the two people were able to meet briefly. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jung Word. Chapter 522. Chapter 522 Why does it feel like Li Bicon is a cheater? When the time is about the same. The old man motioned to the band to be quiet. Everyone in the banquet hall looked towards the stage. Li Jianhong cleared his throat at this moment. "Everyone, welcome to come here to celebrate my daughter-in-law's birthday. This place is really shining. I have prepared some thin wine today. I hope you don't mind it. Today I'm very happy. You all know that my wife died young, so I have no chance of having a daughter in this life. It can be said that in a certain aspect, I have regarded Sunian as my biological daughter. Therefore, you can come here, this old bone is a joy from the bottom of my heart. While the old man is speaking, Lee Baikan secretly moved to Sunian's side, whispered in his ear, "Baby, what the old man is doing now should have been done by me as my husband, so I have been wronged like this. How should you compensate me?" Compensate? Compensation? Why does this sound like Lee Baikan is cheating? Lee Baikan raised the corners of his lips slightly when he heard Sunian complaining in his heart. That's right, he is just trying to make a fool of himself. As a mature businessman, you should strive for your own interests when you are mature. At this moment, a voice sounded, "Old man Lee, it seems that you are getting older and older, and your eyesight is getting worse and worse." As soon as these words came out, everyone's expressions changed. Everyone present knew that this was a pretentious talk. But if you directly break the scene like this, it will completely ruin the scene. Sunian was also a little stunned. Okay, I admit that in the novel, a banquet scene like this must be a big event, and it is also the climax of the plot for the author, but I am not the heroine. By the way, I almost forgot, today is the heroine's birthday. I never did this in my previous life. I really don't know what this one is about. Lee Baikan also frowned slightly. He had clearly ordered Lan Min to be thrown out, so what else could happen? When he thought of this, he felt a little stupid. After all, on such an important day today, how can we simply throw Lan Min out? We should tie him up and control Lan Min's behavior. Only in this way can we ensure that Lan Min will not cause trouble. Hey, what a mistake! What a mistake! Then, Lan Min appeared in their sight. To be precise, it was Lan Ren who appeared supporting an old man. This old man, before Lee Baikan and Sunian had time to react, the old man's voice rang out, "Lin Pingzi, what do you mean, are you coming to destroy my place?" Lin Pingzi, Sunian almost laughed out loud when he heard this name. She instantly remembered who this old man was. The old man has a nemesis. The surname is Lin, she forgot the specific name. Because the old man deliberately called that person Lin Pingzi in order to make his enemy angry. So Sunian had a deep impression of Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin's expression suddenly changed, and he yelled directly at Li Jianhong, "You old immortal guy, what are you talking about? Lin Pingzi, shut up. You have bad eyesight and bad brains. No matter how bad I am, I will never make trouble at someone else's daughter-in-law's birthday party and say something bad about someone else's daughter-in-law. If you think my daughter-in-law is bad, then just hold it in for me. Don't show up. Show up now. Come on, aren't you trying to offend others? Come here and see me off." At other times, the old man might have fun with this guy, but now it is Sunian's birthday party, and there is absolutely no way he would let this guy make trouble. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 523. Chapter 523, The Heroine's Spell Attack, widely criticized. Mr. Lin's expression changed immediately when he heard this. He pointed directly at Lan Min next to him. "I am annoying, and it is not because you, the daughter-in-law, have done a good thing by yourself, driving people out of the house. A good little girl of this family was pushed out by your daughter-in-law. What if something happens?" At this moment, Lee Baikan came to Sunian's ear and said, "Do you remember what I told you before? The old man was in good health and was still fighting with others. It seems that he was fighting with this old man. Sunian. She is a little strange. Why did Mr. Lin come to look for trouble today? She thought it was the heroine's problem. It turned out that the old man brought it. Mr. Lin is old enough to have been beaten, and he really wants to get it back. And today is my birthday, with so many people watching, it is indeed a good day to make trouble. When thinking of this, Sunian couldn't help but take a step back and asked quietly, did the old man's beating be serious? Lee Baiken, Mr. Lin seems to be a little serious. If it's other things, then Lee Baiken still has a way to solve it, but when there's a fight between old men, he, a junior, really doesn't know what to do. I really regret it now. Had I known that this was coming, I wouldn't have held a banquet. It's also nice to sleep in bed with Sunian. Sunian also thought the same as Lee Baiken. Hey, we shouldn't have a birthday party. We should press this guy Lee Baiken on the bed, squeeze him hard, squeeze out more seeds, and get back the guy who prostituted for nothing last night. Lee Baiken, Mr. Lin is deliberately looking for trouble. He is already old and doesn't care about anything but his face, yet he still gets beaten. You must know that since losing a few days ago, he has been in a particularly unhappy mood, especially when he saw Lee Ji-eunhong, a bastard, holding a birthday party for his daughter-in-law with such great fanfare. So he asked people to guard outside the Lee family. Let him get the chance right away. He must find his place with the Lee Ji-eunhong. Let me tell you, Minna is now my god-granddaughter. Since she calls me grandpa, then I must make the decision for my granddaughter. Your daughter-in-law must give me a good explanation. If you don't give me, please tell me, I must let everyone in the city see your daughter-in-law's true face. Mr. Lin said angrily. At this moment, Lee Baiken's voice rang out, well, Mr. Lin, you may have misunderstood. I had someone throw Lan Min out. You have found the wrong person. Mr. Lin, who was full of anger. I got the wrong guy. He coughed lightly and regained his composure. Lee Baiken, I can understand you protecting your wife, but do you think that I am a vegetarian? It was obviously your wife who threw my goddaughter out. When he said this, Mr. Lin looked at the well-behaved Lan Min next to him. Lan Min, tell me, is that Sunian bullying you? Please speak louder so that everyone can listen. Come on, don't be afraid, since you recognize me as your grandpa, grandpa must make the decision for you. Lan Min didn't say anything, but looked at Sunian timidly. Sunian sneered inwardly when he saw this. This may be one of the passive skills of the heroine Mary Sue's novel. You don't need to say anything, you just need to look at people pitifully to launch an attack. If occasion like this, it's still a magic attack, which is ridiculous. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 524. Chapter 524 Pattern. I think, whether it's done by me or Baiken, in your eyes Lan Min, it's all done by me. With Lan Min like this, Sunian felt that if she still didn't say anything, why not let Lan Min, the heroine, sing a one-man show? And in such a scene. That's what a vicious female supporting role like her should do. Lan Min indeed thinks so. In Lan Min's eyes, if it weren't for Sunian, how could his relationship with Lee Baiken be like this? It was Sunian who was the one instigating discord. Yes, that's what I did. I just threw people I hated out of my home. What's wrong with that? Mr. Lin, can't I say anything about my home? When Mr. Lin heard this, he suddenly became energetic. Okay, if I remember correctly, your name is Sunian, right? Sunian, if you drive Lan Min out like this, what should I do if something happens to a girl like her? Can you be responsible? And if you do this to my god-granddaughter, you obviously don't take me seriously. You must give me a perfect explanation. Ha ha ha, he must make this old Lee Ji-eunhong lose face. Lee Ji-eunhong was also angry. This old guy is really capable. When playing chess, I just made a few moves back, stole a few chess pieces, and kept yelling. Moreover, the old guy's hands and feet were not very clean. If you can't beat yourself, you still act clever on these things. Just when Li Jianhong was about to deal with this old guy, Sunian patted him on the shoulder. Sunian, if I remember correctly, Lan Min seems to be about the same age as me this year and is a legal adult, and my home is located in a downtown area. If something really goes wrong with Lan Min, I think you should not settle accounts with me, but with the government, which will endanger many people. I don't think there is a vicious female partner who has such a high vision as me. Yes, this is the so-called pattern. As for the heroine Lanji, a Mary Sue with a bad brain, how could she possibly fight against me without someone as big as me? It's just a dream. Li Baikan looked at Sunian dotingly when he heard this. When Li Jianhong heard this, he immediately knew what to say. The old guy came to cause trouble, but he didn't fight back. He really treated Li Jianhong as a sick cat. Yes, what do you say about my daughter-in-law? You go and react. When did our public security here become so bad? Could it be that your granddaughter, Lin Pingzi, is a human being, and nothing else is human? You old guy is really selfish. The people next to you are stupid if you can't see that this is the grudge between two old men. The wise men dispersed and stopped gathering around. After all, these two old men are not simple characters. If you look at their jokes and wait for them to react, they may become a joke. Li Baikan still had to take into account that this was Sunian's birthday party, so he advised, Mr. Lin, if we have something to do, let's go to the lounge and talk about it carefully. Your old body can't bear it standing like this. Mr. Lin didn't expect that Sunian could be so eloquent. He really didn't know what to say for a while. Since Li Baikan gave him a step to get off, he could only get off for the time being. But he made a scene, so he probably achieved his goal. Maybe. If you don't want yang, then avoid yang. I coughed, and my lungs almost came out. It was really uncomfortable. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 525. Chapter 525, It's not too much for a junior to kowtow to an elder. Lounge. Mr. Lin took the lead and walked to the sofa and sat down. I don't know what you guys think, but from today on, Lan Min is my granddaughter. Anyone who bullies my granddaughter will have trouble with my Lin family. Sunian looked at Mr. Lin. If I remember correctly, this didn't happen in my previous life. Well, as a heroine, Lan Min is loved by everyone and has flowers blooming. It seems that having multiple grandfathers is not a popular thing as long as the author of this novel has a brain problem, then even if there are several it is normal to have a biological father and a biological mother. As we all know, writing a Mary Sue novel does not require any so-called brains. Li Baikan found the key information from Sunian's complaints. This did not happen in my previous life. During these days, Li Baikan studied some novels about wearing clothes for their future. Although Li Baikan also knew that they were originally in the world of novels, and then looking for some novels to study, it did feel a bit like taking off their pants and farting, but there was no way. However, now I heard Sunian say, it never happened in my previous life. Li Baikan feels that it would be better if more things that did not happen in the previous life happened more often. In this case, they can be said to have deviated from the original world orbit in a sense. Only he can better change their destiny. Li Jianhong sneered coldly when he heard this, then looked at Sunian, and said in a serious voice, Nian, did you hear it? Your uncle Lin said so. If you don't bully this person in the future Lan Min, that doesn't make sense, so don't be polite and bully me as much as you want Mr. Lin. Although he knew that Li Jianhong, an old guy, liked to go against him, he never expected that he would go against him like this. Sunian looked thoughtful. Wait a minute, I have a doubt. Can anyone explain it to me? These words successfully made the two old men look over. If Lan Min recognizes Mr. Lin as her grandfather, then according to seniority, I will be her aunt, and Baikan will become her uncle. Shouldn't we give you a meeting gift now? Mr. Lin. Sunian's focus is slightly different. Li Jianhong slapped his thigh hard. Yes, yes, you are still smart. You and Baikan, as elders, should indeed prepare a greeting gift. If you don't even prepare a greeting gift and spread it, it will definitely make people angry. I feel like there are no rules in our family. Humph, old man Lin, isn't he accepting a granddaughter? Sunian walked up to Lan Min and said, this is your first time as a junior to meet me as an elder. As a junior, you kowtow to me. It's not too much. Mr. Lin immediately slapped the table hard. Sunian, what do you mean? Mr. Lin, what's wrong with the juniors kowtowing when they meet their elders? Is this considered an embarrassment? If you really find it difficult for me, old man, then I will apologize to you now. After all, I don't know about your tutoring, old man, and you and your father. It's different, they don't have the same rules as my family. When Sunian said this, he lowered his head slightly and looked guilty. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 526. Chapter 526 Cooperation. Mr. Lin really didn't expect that Sunian could be so eloquent. He can't even explain it. Sunian was so ambitious, so Li Jianhong couldn't let go, so he said, Nian, you are good at everything, but you are too simple, and you always know the rules and know how to advance and retreat. How could you know that people nowadays are even the best? You don't understand the basic rules, and when you say it like this, it seems like we are making things difficult for others. Sunian and Li Jianhong, an old man and a young man, hurt Mr. Lin to the point where he didn't know what to say. Li Jianhong was in a very good mood. His love for Sunian was indeed not in vain. Mr. Lin secretly glanced at Lan Min next to him. It is completely like a piece of wood. Compared with Sunian, a cunning woman, it is business to not suffer losses. If it were a smart girl, she would just kneel down and talk now. Lin Pingzi, if you want to say anything else, just say, today is my daughter-in-law's birthday, and there are so many guests waiting, so don't waste your time here. In this situation, what should Mr. Lin say? He lost this round. But Mr. Lin was still a little unconvinced, so he sneered and said, Li Jianhong, your life is so good that you can find such a good daughter-in-law. It's not my name, it's my eyes that are good. I'm not as blind as you. I chose this trash to be my granddaughter. By the way, your son is almost 40 this year. Isn't your son bad? We are so good. If there is something wrong with your son's health, you still have to tell me. Maybe I can help you find a solution, which is much better than picking up your granddaughter in the garbage. These words were so poisonous that Mr. Lin's expression completely changed. It would be strange if Mr. Lin could sit still. He stood up and walked out angrily. Not to mention how proud he was to see his rival like this, Li Jianhong said directly to Mr. Lin's back, Lin Pingzi, why are you leaving? Why don't you cause trouble to me? After all, we all treat your granddaughter like this. As soon as these words came out, Mr. Lin successfully accelerated his pace. When he came out, Mr. Lin stopped and turned around and said to Lan Min, why didn't you speak just now? Are you mute? Didn't Sunian just ask you to kneel down? Are you like this? That Li Jianhong is famous for being shameless. If he goes up against their family, he must be even more shameless, otherwise, he will only suffer a big loss. Mr. Lin was really angry when he saw Lan Min's pitiful look. It's really a failure. Lan Min was also very aggrieved. As an adult, how could she kneel down when asked, and she still knelt down to Sunian. Sunian. Sunian who destroys everything. Grandpa, I'm sorry, I really can't do it. I've embarrassed you. Lan Min's eyes were filled with tears at this moment. When Mr. Lin saw Lan Min like this, what else could he say? He sighed, and then walked to Lan Min's side to comfort him, that Sunian is the daughter-in-law personally chosen by that old immortal Li Jianhong. Of course she has the same odor as him. You are just too naive, you can't be so naive in the future, you will definitely suffer if you are so naive. Of course Lan Min could see it. It's okay, I'll teach you slowly. Mr. Lin felt that he had to think about it carefully and try to regain his position. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Zhang Word. Chapter 527. Chapter 527. It's okay, practice more in the future. Sunian was mad and depressed. Why was he prostituted for nothing again? At this time, Sunian thought of how he would act coquettishly at the critical moment, making himself lose his mind. Why am I so worthless? How can I let him fish in troubled waters? The position is not firm at all. It shouldn't be. Why? I have lived a lifetime longer than this guy. Logically speaking, this guy shouldn't be my opponent. Baby, are you awake? Sunian's sudden words made Sunian subconsciously say, go away, you free-spirited prostitute. Sunian. Damn it, why did I say what was in my heart? Li Baikan knew very clearly that if he acted as a gentleman on this issue, his final outcome would be to leave his father behind and leave his son behind. And this kind of thing between the bed. It's okay to be thick-skinned. So Li Baikan said innocently, what does prostitution mean? The word prostitution seems inappropriate when used in our context. What else could Sunian do but keep smiling? Baikan, what do you mean by this? I said this word. Did you hear it wrong? We are husband and wife. How could a husband and wife use that word? You heard wrong. Holy shit, God, did I do anything bad in my last life? I'll forget it if you play like this, you still need me to deny it myself. Just let this guy go for nothing, but don't let me talk about it. Really? Did I hear wrongly? Li Baikan put the thing on his hand next to him, and then held the person in his arms. I also think I heard wrongly. After all, we are legally recognized husband and wife, how could we use that word? You must know that Sunian is not a vegetarian. How could she suffer this loss silently? You must know that her determination to create calligraphy treasures is extremely determined. So when he heard Li Baikan's words, he immediately put away his expression and said with a serious face, Baikan, I really didn't say this. What's going on? Why did you hear it wrong? It's your age. It's easy to have auditory hallucinations as you get older, but that's understandable. Li Baikan. Sunian was in Li Baikan's arms with an obedient face. Baikan, I think you should go to the hospital for a checkup. If there is something wrong with your body, then we should do something, such as want a child. But before Sunian could finish speaking, he was directly pressed under him. Is there something wrong with my body? Sunian's yang nodded. After all, just be firmer. Then you can put having a child on your agenda. But Li Baikan didn't give her a chance to speak. Instead, he asked himself, that shouldn't be the case. If there was something wrong with my body, you wouldn't have been able to speak last night. This is something Li Baikan only discovered last night. This little woman of mine is a blank sheet of paper in this regard. It's not as strong as she thought. Li Baikan's words successfully reminded Sunian of how he failed to live up to expectations at night. Sunian. At this moment, someone sighed deeply, and then approached her ear again. In that case, honey, were you just giving in last night? Baby, I didn't expect you to love me so much, the look really moved me so much. But don't worry, I will definitely practice more. Maybe there will only be 3 chapters today. I'm not being lazy. I triggered manual review in 1 chapter. Yes, I was caught driving. It's the last day. I can't even drive. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 528. Chapter 528 Bracelet. Okay, let's eat. We'll talk about this topic slowly in the evening. Now is not the time to talk about this. Lee Baiken teased Sunian for a while, then he felt that the time was almost up, so he let go of the person in his arms. But Sunian still couldn't help but ask, Baiken, why is there that thing on the bedside table in our room? If she doesn't ask this question, Sunian felt that he would die of depression. What is it? Lee Baiken pretended to be stupid. Sunian narrowed his eyes slightly. Why do I think this guy did it on purpose? When Lee Baiken heard this, he quickly acted as if he suddenly realized, that thing you are talking about, maybe I told the old man yesterday that he arranged it. After all, we were just newly married, so it is normal. He hopes that the two of us will able to live a better world of two. Arranged by the old man? Oh, I just want a calligraphy treasure. Why is it so difficult? Old man, I am already old, and you still ask me to take the blame. You are such an unfilial son. What's wrong? Why do you look so ugly? Is it because you feel uncomfortable? What else could Sunian do, except sigh deeply in his heart? It's okay, there will be next time. Hearing this, Lee Baiken lowered his head and smiled. Forget it, although I didn't get the seeds, at least I had fun last night. Lee Baiken, cough cough cough. Although Lee Baiken has seen strong winds and waves, but being so direct is still a bit. Maybe God saw that I was too lonely in my previous life, so he wanted me to have fun a few more times. Well, when you think about it, it really makes sense. Okay, don't be dumbfounded. If you are dumbfounded any longer, the porridge will get cold. This is the porridge I cooked myself this morning. Lee Baiken quickly picked up the porridge and stuffed it into Sunian's hand. Sunian was interrupted like this and stopped thinking. Just drink the porridge obediently. Lee Baiken breathed a sigh of relief. Another reason why he did this is that this is an old house after all. Now that the old man is awake, if he can't control himself and continues to make trouble, it will be a bit ugly. Better go home. After staying in the old house for a while, Lee Baiken took Sunian away. Lee Baiken didn't have anything important to do. But Sunian received a call from Sun Ying-er. That's when I remembered that I hadn't opened the gift from Sun Ying-er yesterday. Return to the wedding room. Sunian took the gift from Sun Ying-er. After opening it, I saw a bracelet. This bracelet is a pair, one for you and one for me. If we go shopping in the future, others will definitely be able to tell that we are sisters at a glance. Sunian's eyes suddenly lit up when he heard this. After all, girls like this kind of fun. Sunian immediately hugged Sun Ying-er and said, Sister, your gift is great. I really like your gift so much. Although Sun Ying-er was very confident that Sunian would like it when she chose the gift, she was still a little worried when it came time to give it away. But now she saw the smile on Sunian's face and subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. Just say it, Sunian will definitely like it. Sun Ying-er was happy, but Lee Baiken, who was sitting on the sofa next to her, was different. Lee Baiken felt a little uncomfortable when he saw Sunian and Sun Ying-er being so close. Although Lee Baiken knew very clearly that he and Sunian were the closest ones. But he still felt that when he gave this little woman a gift, she didn't seem to smile so beautifully. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 529. Chapter 529. Lu Jing is simple and unpretentious. Li Baikan picked up the coffee cup and took a sip. He felt that he needed to discuss this issue with Sunian in private. That's right, let's discuss it carefully. At this moment, Lu Jing's voice rang out, "Ha ha ha, my good aunt, you have accepted Miss Sun's gift. Next, you will accept my gift. I can guarantee that the next gift I will give you, it will definitely blind your eyes and leave you unforgettable for the rest of your life." Lu Jing's words successfully attracted everyone. Facts prove it. This Lu Jing is really, not talking nonsense. The reason why I say this. Because Lu Jing sent a sculpture with a 1-to-1 ratio. And it's golden. It's really flashy. Sunian couldn't help but ask, "Don't tell me, this is made of real gold?" Lu Jing nodded quickly, "My good aunt, you are really smart. You can tell at a glance that this is made of pure gold and is made 1-to-1 according to your physical characteristics. Let me explain to you why I gave this to you. Things, because I think that people are always blessed. If something happens to you, you can sell this thing directly. In this case, it can save your life at such a critical time. How about it? I am very smart." Sunian. This is really witty. But I gave her this as a birthday present. Sunian, haha. She was a little glad now that she didn't open the gift from Lu Jing yesterday. If it was really demolished yesterday, she felt that her good mood for the day would definitely be gone. At this moment, Lu Jing suddenly looked at Sun Ying. Sunian, if you are not satisfied, then you can't blame me. Miss Sun picked this for me. Sun Ying. Lu Jing was like changing his face in a Sichuan opera, turning into a wronged look. I originally spent a lot of effort to pick something good for you. For this reason, I even asked Miss Sun to give me some advice. Who knew Miss Sun, but she didn't take my words to heart at all. No matter what I said, Miss Sun still felt bad. I had no choice but to find another way. Sun Ying didn't expect that this guy would start to provoke her and her. So thought. He. Sun Ying's expression became more and more gentle when she looked at Lu Jing. This made Lu Jing a little bit hairy. But when Lu Jing thought about it, he was not talking nonsense. This Sun Ying was just tormenting him. Deliberately embarrassing myself, not wanting to give Sunian good things, and even hoping to embarrass myself. But who is Lu Jing? Famously clever. Just send some directly. This can also make him appear simple and unpretentious. Just as Lu Jing was fussing, Sunian's voice rang out, "Is this pure gold?" Pure gold, absolutely pure gold. If you don't believe it, you can bite it. Sunian was not polite and just bit her. "Well, it's pure gold. Young Master Lu, you really have such excellent taste. If Lan Min doesn't like you, it's definitely Lan Min's loss. You are really simple and unpretentious. I have always felt that the author of this novel has some problems with his brain. Now it seems that the author of this novel is still somewhat logical. After all, with Lu Jing's virtue, even if Lan Min was blind, he would never fall in love with this guy. To describe this guy as a straight man is an insult. This guy is simply mentally ill." End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 530. Chapter 530. Lu Jing's gift. Lu Jing sighed deeply, "I am such a down-to-earth person. There are not many people in this world who are as honest as me. If I remember correctly, you also gave your old man a statue last month, and it was the same size. Besides, The lower half of the statue is wearing a suit. Sun Ying'er's casual voice floated at this moment. This made Lu Jing's expression change. At this time, Sun Ying'er had already walked up to the sculpture. Why do you look a bit like this thing? At the same time, your father can take out his gifts and let you give them to others. You can do such a shameless thing. It seems like your old man can't do it, so. Sun Yan's eyes suddenly lit up. This thing could not have been stolen by Lu Jing from his father. Sun Ying'er raised the corners of her mouth slightly, saying bad things about her. He immediately took out his mobile phone. I think the birthday gift is very important. If I remember it wrong, it will be a waste of your affection for Nian, so I think it's good to verify it. Lu Jing went up and grabbed Sun Ying'er's hand, and said with a smile, Ancestor, you are really my ancestor, don't do this, I beg you. If you don't poke my tire, then I will do whatever you ask me to do in the future, and I promise that I will be honest in the future. Sun Ying'er gave him a bright smile. She pushed him away directly. Nian, it's your birthday and someone uses his father's birthday gift to deceive you. What should you do? Sun Ying'er gave Sun Yan a look. Let Sun Yan understand. You should give Lu Jing a good rap. Sun Ying'er, it's such a big thing to celebrate your birthday to deceive. If you round it up, it's a bad intention. If you round it up again, it's a provocation. Oh, I'm provoking you on your birthday. Nian, you have to be careful. If this guy is planning something, what should we do? Sun Yan cooperated and changed the expression on his face to one of anger. Haha, Lu Jing, you are really capable now. You actually plotted against me on my birthday. Since you are so outrageous, don't blame me. You're welcome. Lu Jing. Although he admits that his mind is not good. But the word rounding cannot be used here. No matter what, he had to behave as he should at this time, and immediately put on an extremely pious look. And, my good aunt, I admit that although this thing came from a wrong way, but what does this mean? This can show that in my heart, you are more important than my dad. I can give so much, so I really treat you well. Sun Ying'er's voice sounded again. If Nian and your father fall into the river at the same time, who will you save? Of course I will save my dear aunt, Lu Jing said subconsciously. But just after Lu Jing said this, Sun Ying'er's voice sounded again. Uncle Lu, did you hear it? Lu Jing said this himself. I didn't force him to do it. Lu Jing. Lu Jing turned back to look at Sun Ying'er. Before he could say anything, he heard the angry voice of his old man. You brat, you are so bold now, don't you think I will deal with you properly? Lu Jing, why do you have my father's phone number? Sun Ying'er said calmly, there are only so many people in the city, and this circle is only so big. I want to know if it is difficult. It's the third update today. It's not that I'm being lazy, it's that I still haven't finished the chapter on my driving. It's so annoying. I will compensate everyone with an additional 10,000 yuan tomorrow. End of this chapter.